Why ace your pre-recorded interview? Given today's global health crisis, a lot of companies are finding the need to use pre-recorded virtual interviews instead of in-person interviews to limit the contact in person, typically for more work from home solutions, and even solutions where they just want to not have all of their thousands of candidates come to the office and just keep cycling through. When I first got hired at my current job over a year and a half ago before the pandemic, my company actually utilized this technology, which is more high in demand now, but not so much then. So it was very awkward. It was very non-personal compared to a traditional interview, but we did get through it using some of these key factors that are going to help. It's kind of hard to avoid using a virtual or pre-recorded interview nowadays, given the pandemic, and hopefully we keep using it in the future, but specifically because of the pandemic, being in person is not only contributing to the pandemic, but it's also dangerous for your health. So this is really going to help everyone moving forward, and hopefully we can keep adopting it. Though quite different and obviously set up different from an in-person interview, there are a lot of key factors shared between virtual pre-recorded interviews and in-person interviews that we'll be going over. Like traditional interviews, something that's really important is your appearance. You want to make sure that you still are dressing professional, waist up where your camera can see. You want to make sure that you're well groomed, and if your interviewer has given you any instructions on how to dress specifically for that role, then you'll want to make sure you're following that. Business Insider also points out that you'll want to make sure you avoid wearing white, avoid wearing non-solid colors. Go for colors that are better for the camera, like dark grays, and ensure that they don't have patterns or prints. Just try to go for something more solid. To complement the professional setting, you'll also want to make sure you have your curtains drawn in, because things like that can really affect your setting. Make sure that you turn off any devices to avoid interruptions, and make sure that the entire house is quiet, and your specific space reflects that professional work environment that you're going for. Likely, if you're working from home, you'll need to have everything clear so that your interviewer can see, okay, this is the perfect environment that they'll be working in. Forbes points out that being from home, you have so many different kinds of distractions, so you'll really want to minimize that by making yourself unavailable to avoid those interruptions, and close your windows as mentioned. Another key thing that could really help is utilizing a mirror behind your phone. So if you're interviewing this way, you'd be behind your phone, or as you can see in this picture, she has her little setup. That way you can, while you're interviewing, you can keep glancing at yourself and making sure you're still smiling, making sure you're animated, using all these nonverbal gestures that can really help make sure that you're still interacting with your interviewer, even though it might feel like you're kind of just talking to yourself. Which, when it feels like you're just talking to yourself, you, in a way, kind of have to overcome yourself. You'll have the perfect set, you're dressed accordingly, but you still need to make sure you practice and making sure you're not rushing through your interview. Because of the beauty of pre-recorded interviews, meaning you do get to re-record. The process works is where you log into the system, you're prompted with your question, you record, and you can actually re-watch your video and use this time to make any notes, point out anything you need to correct, re-record again. And you want to make sure you're submitting your best work. Harvard Business School reminds us that you can't firmly, shake the hands with your interviewer and show that such enthusiasm. but you can really utilize your body language to do that. As you know, as I mentioned, nonverbal expressions are very important, and making sure you have all that ready for when you're submitting that final video. That way your employer, your future employer, is truly getting your best work. You might think that your confidence could be stifled by technology because of having to overcome all these factors, your environment, and bringing that forth through the camera, but can actually boost it because of the fact that you do have the ability to re-record. Technology can help you. It's not meant to rewind time and make it worse off for you. Following up with that story that I told in the beginning, for that first interview, I ensured to wear a dark gray shirt. The area at the time had a solid beige wall with nothing distracting in the background, and all noises were silent. Made sure I focused, and every time I recorded, I would watch it back. I even had someone in the background listening so that they could provide me feedback to make sure we were submitting the best videos. And it did lead to me getting the job, so it was, very helpful. And that'll bring us to the end. Hopefully we'll keep using that technology in the future, even past the pandemic.